can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Well, I'm a bit nervous today, Ivan and Don, or Don and Ivan. Let's just get the pecking order right. We've got 2 phone calls to make. The doctor, we're calling in at 9:30. Don, the doctor.
He's back.
He's back, and so he's coming on at 9:30. But we've got I believe, a bombshell announcement to make regarding the Australian Open tennis.
Oh.
And rather than me announce the bombshell, I think it's a bombshell, we will get the man who says it's 100% accurate. We'll get him on the phone if he's still game to come on the phone.
So this is called a teaser.
This is just what we're doing.
A teaser. You're teasing the public or the listeners to stay tuned.
No, not really, Don. I'm just telling you what's on the... well, I'll tell you who is tuned, still tuned. David, I saw in... David.
Here we go.
I saw in Coles. And
David, how is he?
Well, David said he didn't realise, he wanted to know, have a listen to this, he said he wanted to know why we speak so quickly and why you've got sort of a bit of a higher voice than he thought you had when you used to do TV commentary.
I've got a high... Hang on.
Just a minute, Don.
Can I ask you, I've got a higher voice now.
Don.
Oh, don't be
David from Coles said he wondered why we spoke so quickly, and he said he thought you had a higher voice than he remembers you having when you were on the television. And then he realised he was playing the podcast at 1.5 times its normal speed. Do you understand that?
So David's a cretin.
Well, I don't know if David's a cretin, he's one of our listeners, but he was playing the podcast at 1.5 times its speed, so that if you speak like this or I speak like this, and if he's playing at 1.5 times its speed, he'd say, "Hello, Don, how are you? I wonder what you're doing today. Did you have any trouble today?" And that's what playing at 1.5 times its speed means. So he's now wound it back to normal speed. So that's David outside Coles.
And I would say David's a cretin.
Well, thank you, David.
And
he's
what
one
about
of our listeners.
when you're giving shout-outs, last week you made a mistake. What's that cafe we went to, Handsome Harry's? Or
Hurricane Handsome.
Well, the barista is a woman. A boy. No, the
barista.
Oh, well.
What is in the chicken man who makes the... What do you mean the barista? The barista, Donald. He puts la crema.
Is a woman. No, is a man.
The barista
You
woman.
said it was... No. She came out when we were having lunch and she took you to task about the fact that she is a man. What is going on?
To Don, please. The girl's name is Ella.
And she hasn't been inked up.
What?
She hasn't been inked. You said she's been inked.
No, I made an error there. She had a couple of... I got confused. She had a ring through her nose and a couple of piercings, and she's a very nice person, and I said she was a barista. She was making the coffee when I was there. So you went back at lunchtime and she'd probably been relieved of her duties to do the barista, and she was now serving tables, which is... and I met there at Hurricane Handsome, not Ella again, but I met a man called Yuri.
Yuri Gagarin, the astronaut.
Did I know you were going to say that? That's the only Yuri Gagarin. No, it wasn't Yuri, but I presume he was Russian. He said he listens to the podcast. I said, well, I'll give you a shout out, Yuri. And then one more. Wayne, I saw at the Shell service station. Wayne.
What do you write all these down?
I said, mate,
you take
what's
a little
your name?
pad around with you and you write these names down.
I said, what's your name? He said, Wayne. I said, I'll give you a mention. And he was driving an amalgamated taxi truck little thing, van. So there's Wayne and David and Yuri. And Ella is not a barista. She's a barista, part-time.
Now, Fiona told me, Fiona told me that her husband, Edward or Ed Selby, listens every week. Now, Ed's claim to fame... Is
this a shout-out?
Yes, it is a shout-out. Ed's claim to fame was that he kicked the winning goal against Xavier. He played for Melbourne Grammar.
He's a Mick.
No, he's a proddy. Blue blood. He's a blue blood, Melbourne Grammar, playing the mix. Xavier, and he kicked the winning goal when he was at school. But anyway, she can't understand why he listens, but he listens religiously every week.
So
Edward Selby, or Ed Selby.
Ted.
So, Ted. Oh, I don't know whether we could. Do you think you could call him Ted?
Well, if his name's Edward, he's affectionately known as
but
Ted.
but he went to grammar.
Oh, well, he'd be Sir Ted.
How does Melbourne Grammar rank against Geelong?
Oh, second tier.
Is it really?
Yeah, Geelong Grammar is the
What?
creme de la creme of schools in the world. Now, Don.
What about Ian? Another shout out. Ian Lamington listens. Do you
Ian
know
Lamington.
Yeah, do you know him?
What, Lamington?
Lamington.
What's that, Don?
Lamington.
Lamington.
He's big around the. Remember the Bear Cave at Caulfield Football Club? Did you frequent the Bear Cave?
Frequent?
Yes, the Bear Cave.
No, I didn't.
He was big around the Bear Cave in our day.
So speaking of the mix and the Protos, just by way, did you notice, now that this staggers me, and this is, please don't take this, I know this will be extrapolated as, someone told me, you might tell me if this is true, I was told by a very reliable source, that when Australia won and beat the Englishmen over in Tasmania, at the end of the game, instead of popping champagne corks and swilling beer, out of respect for Usman Khawaja, who's, I presume, a Muslim, is he?
Yeah.
Yep.
They didn't do that.
No, they did.
They did.
They started to, and he took off. He did a sprint
Yes.
out of the group. He was
Yes.
up on stage and took off. Just
Yes.
took off.
Yes.
And then they realised what they were doing.
Yes.
You know, by shaking the bottle
Yes.
and alcohol would spill on.
Yes.
So obviously, it's part of the Muslim religion, something to
Yes.
do with alcohol. Anyway,
So out
they
of
realised
respect
the error.
and inclusion and diversity,
That's
they
right,
stopped doing it.
They realised the error of their ways. Error of their ways in shaking up the. So he was not in the group celebrating.
Right, that's right. So
they stopped shaking the bottle
they
and back he
realised they'd
came.
made an error by
Yes.
shaking up the champagne.
That's right.
Holy mackerel.
Why? What do you mean, holy mackerel?
Well, hang on a minute. Maybe Mr. Khawaja could say, it could be part of the celebrations, and like you say, when they started shaking the champagne and swilling the beer or doing whatever they do, he could just withdraw, which you said he did. I'm not sure they've made an error. The mainstream way to celebrate is that, and if someone wishes to withdraw from the group for whatever reason, they do, and then when that's all over, they come back on and have the team photo. I'm not sure why that would be an error of their ways.
But don't you, when you reflect on it, religion's caused wars over the years.
Yes,
you mentioned about the mix and the proddies.
Yes.
Now that went back years,
The
centuries.
orange and the green. Anyhow, Don,
Centuries, and it'll just continue, won't
I'm
it?
intrigued that you say the error of their ways. But anyhow, this is not a reflection. Good on
What do you
for-
think I'm wrong in what I said?
Well, I'm not sure that's an error of mainstream people who live in this country's ways, but in respect and with respect, and this is not, I'm not having a shot at him because that's his beliefs, but I don't think the whole crowd has to moderate their behaviour just temporarily, maybe. Not temporarily, they could temporarily celebrate and then get together and put all the grog down and whatever they do and have the team photo and slap each other on the back. I'm not sure that was an error of their ways. Anyhow, that's just only a personal opinion and that'll be construed as a racist or something, but it's not.
Well, they could
Yes,
do
Ivan.
they could do what Formula One do and use rose water. So every time they're up on the podium and they celebrate there, they're spraying the so-called champagne in the Emirates
Yes.
countries. Yeah.
Well, there
All
you
good.
are.
There we
Ivan.
go.
That's a very
There's a compromise.
That is a compromise. So that is, and of course, it's not a bad.
What type of water is it?
Rose water.
It smells.
So it's just
yes,
water.
perfumed water,
Yeah.
and that's not a bad idea, Don, because when you shake up champagne, it's
Does it bubble? Does rose water bubble like
because
champagne?
it's
you shake
aerated, Donald. They make it specially, put it in the Cristal bottles or whatever
What
the
type of
bottles
bottles?
are of
Yeah,
champagne.
you're onto it. Yep.
What type of bottles?
Cristal.
Cristal.
The most expensive champagne in the world. But if it had rosewater in it, Donald, it's not a bad idea if they did that universally for all celebrations, because if you get champagne sprayed over you, it's sticky and it clings to you and it smells. And
You've had it done a few times, have you?
Well, have you not been in a room when someone's popped a cork of champagne?
No, I don't associate with drinkers.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't blaspheme.
Have you not been in a room at Hawthorn when you've won one of your many premierships and they've hoisted you upon their shoulders and they've popped champagne? Jeff Kennett's come in and eased the cork out of a
What would
bottle.
he say? What would Jeff say?
Look, Don, here, would you like to have a swig of this champagne? And he goes, oh, I can't do the bottle. And then it all spurts out over you and you say, hey, Jeff, get that stuff off me. I don't associate with drinkers. Come on, Don, settle down. We
People have
just won a
said to me
flag.
that you're very good at the Kennett impression, but you're not good at me.
Oh, I'm great at you.
No. They're critical of you when you take me off,
I pulled
apparently.
back on you. I pulled back
Oh,
on you.
you
Don.
pulled back.
They're only critical of me because I'm so accurate with you.
Talking about Hawthorn, and
were
this
we?
is sad.
Oh, yeah, we were.
We were. David Wanless just passed away now.
Really?
Now, David,
I know David.
to all and sundry, he's known through the football world, but he was an important part of the fabric of Hawthorn, behind the scene, not a player, but an administrator, but was, with a few others, the glue that helped keep Hawthorn together in the 70s.
I dealt with David when you were having your tribute or whatever you were having.
The roast.
Leonda.
Oh,
and
the
I
roast.
came along and I spoke to David several times, and he was a very good man. So, and in passing, we can say the great Scotland Palmer left us this week. And there's a bit of a gig for him down on Sunday at Sorrento. Laurie, his wife, will be there of 60 years. And so there we are, another icon gone. I'm not sure if Mick Sheehan will be at the wake. Don't think... I think we had Scott on here, didn't we?
Yeah,
on the podcast.
It was terrific.
Anyhow, Don, so that's the people we're shouting out to. And now, just before we get on to this blockbuster that I'm going to read out, because I think it's a blockbuster...
Hey, listen, on the podcast sorry to cut you off there, but
right,
we let something go a couple of weeks on the podcast.
What did we let go?
About telehealth. Do you remember the telehealth, how the government had withdrawn their rebate? No, you didn't listen to what I said, did you?
I listened to everything you said.
Okay, well, the government should be applauded.
Make sense of it.
The government should now be applauded because they've reinstated the rebate to the tune of 24 million, which means that people can continue getting consultation because of COVID over the internet. And so the government should be applauded. There's not too many times that they do a back step.
Do you think it was you instigated?
No, I'm just saying that we let it go. And
we're ahead of the curve sometimes, Don.
Well, you're going to let a bombshell go.
I reckon it's a bombshell.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's
been reported in the... In fact, I don't think it's been reported as fully as I'm about to report it.
Oh, good.
Because it's actually almost...
What time is this going to be on?
It's almost the...
How many more minutes?
It's almost the slug gate of tennis.
Oh.
It's almost the slug gate of tennis. And we'll do it in a minute because then we'll get the man on the line who will put him to the test, see if he wants to back it up. Because he told me. Anyhow, Don, so just before we get on to much more serious matters, Ivan, did you know Don took his horses in a Pantechnicon, which is a horse float, and drove it up to Mortlake over the weekend, and sat up there like he had a bottle up his arse, jogging up and down on the horse, and the horse got a bit frisky. Don tells me, I'm not speaking out of school. Don tells me, and he's put his back out from sitting on a horse. The great Leviathan, the warrior from Hawthorn, who belted all and sundry from pillar to post, has put his back out riding a horse up at Mortlake. Don, is it time, mate? Is it time you snatched?
No, it's not.
Is it time you snatched the horse riding?
No, I forgot
What happened
something.
to
It was my fault. I forgot to take the tongue grid.
I beg pardon, Don?
Tongue grid. Now, a horse has a tongue. Now, you put a bit in the horse's mouth. Now, some horses get their tongue up behind the bit and sometimes over the bit. So you've got no control. So...
Okay, so the very fact, Don,
That
that
I
you forgot to do that,
Yes.
would that be your acuity, your mental acuity is now starting to decline?
Well, I wouldn't
Has you
argue.
ever
I
forgotten
wouldn't
to take
argue.
the tongue
I'd-
bit off the horse's bridle before, or
Yes.
whatever it's called?
Yeah, I know. I've got to agree with you a little bit.
All right, so I think it's time you go.
No, it's not.
Well, you need to. Have a listen to this, Ivan. So, Don, I get a phone call. He said, this was Saturday. He says, where are you? And I said, hello, Don. How are you? He said, you've moved your apartment now, haven't you? And I said, yes, Don, I'm in the next tower. He said, oh, well, you can't see me driving past you. I said, no, Don, I can't. I said, where are you going? He said, I'm on the way to Mortlake. I said, well, Don, I said, had you given me a little more notice, I might have come with you. I could have checked the horse bit and the horse had his tongue over the bit or whatever. And Eddie said, oh, well, I'll do it next time. And I said, well, maybe just... What did you think if you'd rang me and I said I was at home? I could have rushed down with a little portmanteau and a shaving kit and got in the truck and driven up with you with 5 minutes' notice. I said, maybe you give us an hour's notice, Don. And so up he went up to Mortlake and jogging around there with the plums belting on the saddle there and giving himself a hernia. And then the horse bucked him off or bucked. So how did you put your back out, Don?
Oh, he went one way and I went another.
So really? So how would that put you back out?
Well, I don't know. Anyway, let's just move on. Talking about
So
our activities.
Win
over
any ribbons?
No.
Did
He jumped well. The horse jumped well. Got in a jump double clear.
Oh, what's that, Don?
Jumped double clear.
Ivan?
That means he qualified and went into the jump off and went clean. Just a bit slower going.
Were you on it, or did you just do it on
who
its
else?
own?
Who would else be on it?
Oh, I
Riding
just thought
with
it
a
might have
bad
done it
back.
on its own. You were injured.
Yeah, but it's mind over matter injuries, isn't it? So
Well, you said you withdrew.
I came back after the event,
What?
but I rode through it.
So you didn't withdraw. You said you had to stop doing
I
it.
did. I could have ridden Saturday, but waking up Sunday morning, anyway.
You could have
let's
ridden on
not-
Sunday, but you withdrew.
Yes, my back was sore.
Oh, so
when I
you
cooled down
you didn't
the-
ride through injury.
I did when I had the adrenaline up on
So
Saturday and
so
rode through the pain barrier. You know the pain barrier.
Yeah, well, I
We
know.
went right through
This
the pain
is painful doing this. So you drove home in pain.
Yes.
It's a long drive from Mortlake. How
it
long?
is. I did a lot of thinking on
How
the
long?
way back.
Hang on, we'll ask you what you think about. How long is the drive, as in hours?
Well, I stop a few times. I stop at Camperdown.
Do you get
Camperdown's-
regaled when you stop and people rush over to you and say, Don, is it? Hello, Don.
No, I call
Can
into
I
my
pat
coffee
your
shop
horse?
in Camperdown on
What?
the corner there. It's a very good bakery.
Is it, Don? And they all know you're there and come
No,
out and welcome
no,
you?
they don't, no.
And what do you do with the horses? Do they just go, do you stop and water them or give them a feed on the way back, or do you just lock them up and just drive
lock 'em
home?
up and drive home.
That's probably why they buck you off, because
Fuck 'em.
they're pissed off with you.
Now
You're
listen,
treating them
talking
well.
about our activities on the weekend, tell me about your activities on
My
the weekend,
activities?
because somebody told me you're out in your boat again and
no.
somebody got attacked by a shark.
Oh,
Who got
please.
attacked? Fill me in.
Wow. I tell you what.
Hey,
Oh, man.
what happened on the good ship Venus?
Who knows? A lot happened that I wasn't aware of.
What do you mean?
Well, I was driving the boat and just minding my own business. And
So who was on the boat?
quite a number of people.
Who?
Brian Mannix.
Yeah,
from-
one.
What?
One.
One.
That's
You're gonna
one
go through all of
person.
them?
I'm counting.
Oh, you're going to count them down
Yes.
as I mention them.
Yep. Brian Mannix, one.
Frank Swanson,
Two.
Mario.
Bortolotto, three.
Yep. No, Don, I'm making these names up. There was Mr. Nixon.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And his charming girlfriend,
Oh, jeez.
Melissa.
Hang on.
Warwick Kappa.
Oh, God. When
And his partner was temporarily
what?
away because she might have had to have a COVID test.
So she didn't go out with you?
That's correct. She was away. And then there was...
What about the booger sugar?
No, Don, there was no booger sugar. There was no... Don't. Every time you say that, they weren't... There was no booger sugar on the boat, Don, please. And so anyhow... I'm just minding my own business, and suddenly said, someone said, "Oh, Brian's bleeding," and he got out of the water, and he had a reasonable cut on his arm, reasonable, and bleeding like a stuck pig. He was bleeding, which is not a good thing when you're in the water having blood. Just
so what?
That does attract things. So I said, "What happened?" And he said, "I think something bit me," and then it went. Then it went from something bit me to just went to the next level. He said, "I think a bull shark got me." I said, "I think a bullshit shark got you, Brian." And then it went on from there. And then suddenly he was attacked by a shark, and Warwick Kappa dived in the water and saved him, and he went to hospital. And I said, "Shit, that's amazing. I didn't realise any of that was happening."
Is this in the bay at Beaumaris? You usually...
No, this was in the car park. This was, of course, it was in the bay, Don.
Well, I mean, you go to, what was it, Beaumaris last time and you had problems.
Well, that's in the bay, but it wasn't at Beaumaris.
Where were we this time?
Well, it was just off Brighton.
Oh, so we just go and anchor off Brighton like that other big boat that's down there?
Well, sometimes we do. Depends
You're
on...
a little bit ostentatious, aren't you, with a boat?
No, it's a weather thing, Don.
A weather thing?
Yes, and you've got to go reasonably close to shore, because if you try and anchor out in the middle of the bay, the anchor chain is not 150 feet long. So you've got to get where the water is reasonably shallow, so you've got enough anchor chain to anchor. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, you ran aground in the middle of the bay.
You can run aground in the middle of the bay, Don, because it's not just all, as we say, plain sailing. You've got to be careful.
You weren't under the influence when you ran aground that day?
Of what?
Well, I'm just...
Anything, drugs or alcohol?
Yeah.
Well, no, that'd be pretty hard. I don't do the drugs and I don't drink alcohol, Don. So
Okay.
other than that, that's...
I just thought the company you were associating with might...
Might what? They don't drive the boat.
Oh, okay.
So they can do what they like. But anyhow, so that was a bit of a... that hit the press, and then someone rang me.
How did it hit the press?
Well, because they put it on social media.
Who?
Well, all the people who were on the boat like to post photos to their friends, and they showed Brian with his arm bleeding, and Brian was on there with his daughter Casey.
Oh, really?
And yes, she was on there.
Is she a singer? I think
Is she what?
A singer
She
in the
is.
entertainment business.
Indeed. And I don't know if these people want to be mentioned that they're on the boat, because Sue Stanley was on the boat, who's a very nice...
Well, she was on the boat last time.
That's right. She likes the boat, and she's a very nice person, and she's nice to have the 4-time world champion, aerobics champion on the boat, because adds a bit of class to it, Don. It's a bit of class.
Why?
And there was
what do you mean the rest of them aren't classy?
Well, no, I didn't.
Well, yeah, that was the inference.
No, it just
It
adds a
elevates.
different level of...
What?
It's an eclectic bunch of people, Don.
Oh, you're not wrong.
Yeah, an eclectic bunch of people. So that was
Yes.
what happened to me, and that's what happened to you. Ivan, anything with you happened? Ivan took me out to dinner.
Oh, really?
At the
Where,
Bang
Ivan?
Bang Pop Bang. What is it called?
Pop, bang,
Pop.
pop.
Bang Pop,
There
just
we
up
go,
the
Ty.
boardwalk. He rang up and he took me with his charming wife.
Yes, there we go. Yep,
His charming wife's name is
Pauline.
Pauline.
There we go.
Jeez.
And we had food on that you wouldn't have eaten. It was so hot it burnt the roof of my mouth out, and I had tears in my eyes. And I
Running
thought
down your
I was
back.
sentimental and emotional to be with him, but it was that fucking hot. I could hardly...
Worse than that saucer we
It
tried
was,
that
it was
day?
up there, but that's...
What was that sauce called?
It was fuck. That's hot.
That's right. Where's the bot? Where?
Yeah, no, it's,
No, we don't need that.
we don't need that. So no, we do. So that was that. Now, so before we, what's the time? I'm not going to do it yet. because I said I'd ring this man and see if he answers the phone. I reckon this is a bombshell, what I'm about to read out.
How many more minutes? We can't give a time, but we can say in how many more minutes have we got?
And I want to play the most cringeful thing I've heard. Now this is Ivan has it on his phone. No.
Hang on, Ivan, you're jumping the gun.
This is the Premier of Western Australia. You cannot get more projection and more faked and feigned solemnity than this. This is a middle-aged man called Mark McGowan, who's the Premier of Western Australia, being so politically correct and woke that it's cringeworthy. He's standing next to an elderly Aboriginal woman and he's trying to explain about COVID, and the woman, who no fault of her own, who's probably is a very charming person, but speaks in broken English because it's probably not her native tongue, English, because she's Aboriginal. And he is got her standing next to him, and he's got this big cow eyes, and it is the most cringeworthy shit you've ever heard. And he's got the woman ostensibly beside him to interpret what he's saying for the Aboriginal community, I presume. I don't know why they're any different from any other part of Australia. If you can speak to the general public of Australia, I don't know why you have to drag an Aboriginal woman along to make you look good standing beside you if it's not for effect or projection. So have a listen to this. This is Mark McGowan, the Premier of Western Australia, and this will probably go around the world as the most cringeworthy shit you've ever heard. Have you got it? We'll hold now. So we'll play a little bit of it. Listen.
I am the Premier of Western Australia.
Hello, my name is Mark McGowan, and I'm your Premier here in Western Australia, and I'm the interpreter. I'm going to talk like Creole, what he talking about.
This is an important message to keep Aboriginal people safe.
And this message is a proper important one to keep everybody safe one.
You can die from the corona or get really sick.
You can pass away from this corona, or you can get really sick one.
It's time to get the corona needle to keep people and country strong.
Again, it's time to get him this needle from a corona.
Righto.
To keep
That is Mark.
What's wrong?
What is wrong with that?
Yeah.
Well, how is the woman interpreting anything? She's just repeating parrot fashion what he says in English. What do you have to have? What do you have to exploit an Aboriginal woman standing beside you to pump yourself up to look as though you're woke and faking this solemn? Why does he have to speak to Aboriginal? Why doesn't he just make an announcement like we?
I can't believe his advisors didn't just bin it straight away. I can't believe they let that go to air.
In fact, when I heard it, I thought that someone's sending him up. That is fake. You can't get more nonsense than that. That is just shit, Don. Seriously, that is exploiting. If you want to talk about reverse rate, that is just exploiting someone for your own political gain. That is just nonsense.
So that was on
what
YouTube.
What is she interpreting? She's just repeating what he says, and he's sitting there with the cow eyes, pleading. Well, how many times can we told about the vaccine? Don't start me on the vaccine. And in fact, I tell you what, Don, the frustration and anger and suspicion of what's going on about this vaccine and this COVID is starting to gain some momentum. It's starting to get a groundswell of people who are just about fed up with this. And I'll tell you one thing, this is my opinion. In years to come, Novak Djokovic will be seen in the same light as Muhammad Ali, who took a stand against the Vietnam War, and and became a hero, and Djokovic, you'll find, will become an absolute hero for his stand about the nonsense that's going on with vaccines which are vaguely ineffective. The number of people that are getting the COVID, the number of people who are dying from it, whether you've been vaccinated or not, it is a rort, and it's just going on, and it's crippling the Western world for no real reason.
Now, there's a good documentary just come out on YouTube. It's called Battleground Melbourne, and it's on YouTube, Family and Friends. Now, I don't know whether it's called Battleground Melbourne doco or it's called Family and Friends, but it's on YouTube and it goes for about an hour, and it recaps what has happened in Melbourne over the past 2 years and the contradictions made by our Premier.
Lies by the government.
By the government, all of that, very enlightening.
Okay, so that's when
I've been waiting for somebody to go back and actually a newspaper or a media outlet or something to go back and examine the past 2 years. Okay. Nobody has done it except this doco. It is on YouTube.
Okay, well, you're just verifying the fact that I said there's frustration and anger and suspicion welling up amongst the community. The community have just about had enough of the lies, the misinformation and the bullshit being spun to us. No one is saying that the virus and the Omicron is not... The Omicron... people, the fear they're putting into people about Omicron, which at best they say is a very mild form of COVID, honestly and truly, and
so you won't be getting your fourth and fifth.
And hang on, and if you want to read a fantastic article by a bloke called Jim McPherson. I think he calls himself James, but I'm calling him Jim. He wrote in The Spectator, in the Australian newspaper last week or 10 days ago, about Novak Djokovic and how he's had the courage to do what most of us did not, and that's highlight the fact that millions of Australians have allowed themselves to be abused for 2 years, and no one wants to admit that except Novak Djokovic has brought it to a head and said how absolutely ridiculous it is that you have to adhere to every single thing this corrupt and dishonest government tell you from time to time. Now, okay, we've got onto that, so I'm going to read out this thing now. This is about the Australian Open tennis and what happened with Djokovic. And I'll read it out, and then if you think I'm just making it up, we'll get the person who told me to see if he'll verify it. What are you showing me, Don?
Well, I'm just showing you an effect that this COVID has had on a man, being reported, but I'll go with your story.
Will you, Don? Well, no, please.
A US man claims, and this has been written by Vanessa Chalmers in The Sun on the 13th of January 2022 at 11:21, a US man claims his penis has shrunk due to a rare COVID side effect. Geez, I hope I don't get it. What about you?
Mine's already shrunk.
Man claims his penis has shrunk by at least 4 centimetres due to COVID, and doctors say it can't be fixed. That's a side effect of COVID.
He's put that down to the fact he's got COVID, has he?
He has, and it's been written, it's in The Sun.
I'll let him make it right.
No, not The Sun, our Sun, but I think it's a paper in America. Vanessa Chalmers.
I think it's in England, isn't it, The Sun?
Well, it's on the 13th of January 2022. Health problems.
Yeah. Well, you'll have people will come up with those things. Women say they're menstruating at different times and not menstruating now because there's a whole lot of the uncertainty and the nonsense that they go on about with all these vaccinations and boosters and having it is an unproven vaccine which they say minimises if you get COVID, but plenty of people say it doesn't minimise anything. There's plenty of people dying in relative terms from COVID, whether they've been boosted or had vaccines or not, or they're unvaccinated. And then there's more people getting COVID who have been vaccinated. So what's the point of the vaccine?
Seriously? Well, urologists say, just getting back to what I was talking about, urologists say in this article that COVID dick is a real phenomenon whereby the penis can reduce in size due to damage to blood vessels. A study of 3,400 people led by University College London found that 200 reported long COVID symptoms. A smaller penis was one of the rarer ones.
What it interferes with their blood vessels, does it, Don?
What, the penis or the COVID?
Well, I don't know. You said it interferes.
Well, the COVID obviously.
They're not injecting their dick, are they? With the like, you inject your dick, don't you, when you want to ramp up a bit, don't you, Don? Well, don't you? But that's what people who've had their prostate out. Don't you stick a needle in your?
Well, there are many forms of getting an erection after you've.
Yeah, that's right. So, Don, in order for you to get direction, don't you stick a needle in the old pipe?
Well, yeah, there's many forms, John. You can get a little...
You wouldn't want to do it too often.
You get a little balloon inserted and you pump it up as well.
You wouldn't want to inject your dick too many times with a needle, because the next time you go and have a piss, you'll end up having to hold your dick like a recorder, or you'll have bits of water coming out from every spike and orifice in your snag. So, Don, I'm not sure that you injecting your dick with stuff to make it go hard is any different from having a COVID injection. I don't know, how does it infect your blood vessels? Speaking of that,
what?
We're going to. Someone hacked my phone, or a friend of mine took my phone, and put me on a dating app called Bingle. Have you heard of Bingle?
No, I haven't. No.
Put me on a dating app.
Friend on the boat, I suppose. This would be on Sunday on the boat.
Yeah. I come back.
Was it on Sunday on the boat?
I retrieve my phone. I don't know. I retrieve my phone, and I've got a message from Bingle. Thanks for giving us all your information. I had to say who I was and how old I was and my birth date and everything like that. And the only reason, you have to provide photos of who you are, so that willing suitors who you're trying to attract, or they're trying to attract you, or whatever.
I think you've done this yourself.
No, Don.
I think your mate Pudding.
Don. The only reason, Don, the only reason why you know that's not right, the only reason why you know that's not right, look at me, is that you know I wouldn't be able to do that even if I wanted to.
Do what?
Download Bingle and put it all on the app. I wouldn't know how to do it. You've got to access the App Store or the icon. What do you?
Yeah, you're onto it.
You've got to access it. Download all your information. So my information was downloaded. Gave my birth date. Let me tell you about my birth date. It said I was born 76. So the only reason I'm not on.
So how have you gone? Have you had any hits?
No, this is my point. The only way that I'm not on it at the minute is that you have to pay to go on it, and the person who hacked my phone wasn't going to put their credit card on it, so I'm not activated. But
how did you go for 5 minutes?
No, they didn't.
Did you get any hits?
Don, I'm trying to explain to you that I didn't get any hits personally, because I hadn't paid to join the service. But as soon as you put your age in, they link you up. My first date was going to be a woman in Upper Ferntree Gully in a retirement village who was 80, and because I'm 76, and all these people between 75 and death came up on the app saying, these are your compatible partners. I thought, fuck me.
Did you?
Thank God. Thank God.
This could be an episode.
Thank God the person who did hack my phone didn't go the whole hog and put their credit card on it, or I'd be on there now. I'll show you the photos. These are the photos. These are the photos that were submitted.
Why do you have to go to Ferntree Gully? We've got
just flick across.
Here.
Right, can you flick across from left to right? They're the 6 photos.
You've had a face job in this.
Don, these are the photos. Don, these are the photos that were going to be put on the app for me to try and attract willing suitors. What's the other Bingle? What's the other one? The dating thing? Tinder. I kept saying Grindr. Tinder.
Grindr.
Well, it's a different. So thank God someone didn't put the money on to actually activate me, because it asks what your passion.
These have been taken years ago.
So what the passion and that's the other point, Don. So that if you got onto a Sheila out at the retirement, if you got onto a woman out at the retirement village at Upper Fern Tree Gully or wherever, if that was meant to be your source of who people would be attracted to you. How do you know that when you met them, someone could say they look like Elle Macpherson, and when they open the door, they could look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. They could look like anyone. They could look like Fatty Boomba. And you think, shit, you're not the person that I thought you were going to be because you doctored up your photo.
Yeah, but you're not the person in those photos either.
What, that was taken last month.
No, it's just...
That is
You've
taken,
just walked out of the cosmetic surgery and they've snapped
whatever, Don, but that is taken last month, that photograph. That's where they got them off my phone. So they didn't... Here, give it to me. So that's where I'm going. So what we're going to do, Don, we're going to come back. We could... No, we'll try...
No, we've got to get this exclusive out.
All right, well, we'll try and get the man on the phone now. So this is going to be an exercise in itself, Ivan. Help me here.
All right. Okay.
So hang on. No, here's the phone here.
Geez.
Now this is
Donald.
Yeah. So we're going to try and ring this man now. But Ivan, you've got to tell me that we're going to record this. So we should have done this off. So what do I do now? Is I ring him?
Yes.
Ring him, right? Do I?
You can ring him. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Ring him. Do I? Is this his number? Oh, fuck.
That's the number.
Yeah, I know. Ring home. Right. Now what do I? So when he answers,
And I'll be on the headphones.
will it?
Yep. And it is.
Is it? They my headphones?
Morning, Sam.
John, can you hear me?
I can, Sam, clearly.
Now, I just want you to bear with me. I've preempted what I'm going to read out, but I said, rather than you take it from me, we'll get the man on the phone who... so I'm going to read out what you sent me, and then I'm going to speak to you, all right?
No problems at all, Sam.
Righto. Right.
Hey, Sam.
Yes.
We've got to see how the sausage is made here. Tennis Australia...
John, you're on. We're being recorded as you speak. So before you say anything that you shouldn't be saying, so go ahead.
No, I won't do that, Sam. No problems. We've just got to see how the sausage was made here, Sam. Tennis Australia and Tilly have played a major role in this, and they have escaped scrutiny, and it's not fair to the Australian sports fan or taxpayer.
Thank you, John. So I'm about to read out what you sent me. And then you can, we will speak about it. You sent me this. You said, I have a friend at Tennis Australia. This is about Novak Djokovic. The documentation was totally filled out by Tennis Australia, and Djokovic was asked to provide specific information that was specified by Tennis Australia. Tennis Australia filled out all the documents for all the players, officials and teams. Djokovic did not know what was filled out. Tennis Australia chartered and paid for a jet to bring Djokovic to Australia and instructed and managed and paid for all legal defence. That's why they are being a bit reticent to speak about it. So just wait for this, John, please. And then you sent me another further text, and you said this. If I can just find the bloody thing. Just let me find the text. Oh, shit. Here we go. John, here we go. So this is then what you said. This is an addition to this. Let it be known, this is Tennis Australia, that the players and officials that were seeking a process to create a vax exemption for internationals travelling to the Tennis Australia 2022, 26 applications were received, of which 5 were similar to Djokovic's. Tennis Australia only selected the 4 to obtain the vax exemption, plus Djokovic. Tennis Australia and the Victorian government jointly set up the independent group, in inverted commas you've got, to grant the visa exemption. Tennis Australia processed for all attendees of the Australian Open to fill out and pay for all visa documentation application. Tennis Australia filled out the 5 vax exemptions, and they entered Australia and were at the Australian Open playing before Djokovic arrived. Djokovic and his party were invited by Tennis Australia who paid for the aircraft charter from Dubai to Melbourne. The arrival time was planned to be early, so they had minimal border staff working. When Djokovic was in the federal government...
No, in the air, Sam. When Djokovic was in the air.
All right, was in the air. The federal government looked at the negative social media comments and thought Djokovic issue was a vote winner, so they contacted the Victorian government and questioned the visa status, hoping the Victorian government would directly participate in a change of visa. They would not, so they stopped him at the border. And this is the last bit, sorry. Tennis Australia structured and paid for all the legal fees for the whole case, and they will be paying for the federal costs and the recent loss of case. The Czech girl who went home early asked Tennis Australia to defend her like they were for Djokovic and was told no. Tennis Australia have covered the cost of Djokovic's house in Melbourne that he didn't use. This is the Czech girl referred to in the article is Renata Vorakova, who is threatening Tennis Australia with litigation. Tennis Australia will settle. Now, John, you told me this, and I said, do you mind me speaking to you about this? And you said this is absolutely factual, and you think that the government, successive governments, whether it be the Victorian or the federal government, have absolutely balls this up, and this is about as corrupt and dishonest as you can get.
Well, Sam, the ball's up to me.
This is John Locko, incidentally, who is, I've known for a long time. He's a very credible source, and he was the ex-mayor of Brighton, and he's a friend of mine, but he's willing to be named and put his name to all this stuff, so go ahead.
True and correct, Dan. Tennis Australia set about establishing a process to create a vaccination exemption, so various internationals could play in the Australian Open 2022. And as you said, 26 applications were received, etc., etc. Now, what happened?
Were 26 applications received for a vax exemption?
Yes, Dan, and they set up 2 independent panels to oversee this process. Why would you require 2 independent panels? Isn't one enough? And if you have 2 independent panels and they arrive at different decisions, which panel's decision takes precedence? It's a muck up from the start, Sam. No one knows how this sausage was made, and they're all running away from what happened. Tennis Australia and Craig Tilley in particular have to come up under serious media scrutiny. And everything that you said that I've supplied to you should be put to Tennis Australia in a question. They can say yes or no to all the stuff that's just been read out here, and it's been supplied by me.
So, John, so you think Novak Djokovic has been unfairly accused and treated in the handling of how he came to Australia and under what circumstances?
Sam, personally, I don't like the persona of Novak Djokovic. That's neither here nor there. But yes, I do. I think he's been made a goose off. He came here to play tennis, to defend a title, hopefully to win another one and go home. That's all he did. He's a professional sportsman. But he can't come into the country if he doesn't adhere to the guidelines or the requirements of either the federal or the state or the federal government. But you're saying that he was given clearance because an exemption that he was, and he didn't know what was in the document that he filled out because Tennis Australia did it on his behalf, aren't you? Exactly. And none of us can travel unless our documentation is true and correct. In the end, Novax did not grant himself a visa and did not grant himself a medical exemption across 2 independent panels. He didn't do any of that. He was part of the process, which was handled for him by Tennis Australia. He was given the okay and he got on the plane. He would not have got on the plane had he not been given the okay. He didn't come here in defiance of rules and regulations of the Australian government and Tennis Australia. He's been made a goose off.
Well, that's a pretty gone dog.
Okay, John, you said there were 26 applications for exemption and 2 were granted. Is that right, or am I misreading what you said?
John, 26 applications were received in terms of their process to create a vaccination exemption policy for travelling internationals. 26 applications were received, Don, of which 5 were similar to Djokovic.
And were they granted?
Yes.
Hang on. So we have got players playing in the Australian Open who are in exactly the same position as Djokovic and the girl that was sent back, and they are allowed to stay and compete. Is that right?
Well, there's some here playing under those processes, yes.
So
they were playing before Djokovic arrived. They were established here. The 5 exemptions were granted, and they entered Australia and were playing before Djokovic and his party of 8, who were on a specially chartered jet by TO from Dubai to Melbourne after they flew them first class from Belgrade in Serbia, Dubai. Yes, they were here already.
So John, so you're saying that the federal government were quite happy to go along with this until they thought it was a vote winner or a vote wasn't going to bode well for them on the polls, so they pulled his visa for projection or for a public, for just a public example to show that they were not treating him differently to anyone else.
Sam, there's a federal government which is Liberal. There's a state government which is Labor. You're well aware of that. The situation was politicised between those two because, as you say, the federal government saw votes in this. They sought the cooperation of the state government. It wasn't forthcoming because they're of a different political colour. The issue has been politicised. Novak Djokovic and his crew are the victims.
So just finally...
And Australia, John, my view on this is that Australia are minnows when it comes to international affairs. Australia did not move until Serbia raised some concerns about Djokovic themselves. That's the government in Serbia when he was travelling from Spain to Serbia and whatever else. Then Australia got balls, or the Australian government got balls, wouldn't do anything. They granted him the exemption, then jumped on the bandwagon, had a little bit of gumption and said, no, we're going to send you back. That's how I read it as well. It's been politicised, as you said.
So, John, how do we know? Why you just say this over the phone? How do you verify what you're saying? I know you won't divulge your source, but you have this on absolutely reliable authority that he has been maligned unfairly and that he followed all the process and the government gave him an exemption or whatever, or gave him a visa, and all he did was just come here at their request and the rest is history. Is that correct?
He came, that is correct, Sam. He came in good faith and he has been maligned, and the government did try to read which way the wind was blowing and set a policy. They've embarrassed us. They've embarrassed themselves. We're a laughing stock, and what you've said and your summary is correct.
Why do we?
Came here to play.
And why would we believe what you're saying? Where did you? How do you know this is true?
Well, I said you don't have to, but everything that I say can be put to Tennis Australia in a question, and they can say yes or no. This is not fact. This is fact. But when they start answering questions and saying yes and no, they've got to be very, very careful too, because I've got other information as well. This is only a part. This is only a small part of this story.
Well, what else is there, John?
You wouldn't like to let some other information go, would you?
As it becomes necessary to disclose, I will disclose, and I will never ever disclose my source. You've said that, Sam, and that will always be the case. I have got more. When it becomes necessary to disclose more, I will. What I want to see is the media put fair scrutiny upon Craig Tilley and Tennis Australia, because we have been made mugs off, and Novak Djokovic, regardless of what you think of him, he's the victim in this.
Oh, there's no doubt about that, because I could see publicity coming for Tennis Australia by having Djokovic here and he winning his 21st tournament, which would make him, the greatest player of all time as far as winning Grand Prix events and
Grand Slams.
And Grand Slams, I'm sorry. And it would also bring kudos to the Australian Open and the Victorian government and Melbourne itself because the event is held here. So there's an exposure worldwide.
Correct, Don. And how cynical are they? The Czech girl, Renata Vorakova, who came here under the same conditions and was sent home, she asked Tennis Australia to represent her in litigation, and they said no because she's rated number 80 in the world, I believe, or thereabouts. Djokovic, of course, is the number one player, and they went out, they bent over backwards for Djokovic, even to the extent that they rented a luxury home in Melbourne that he didn't even use. So they've paid for this, they've orchestrated it, and we haven't heard from them. Why have we not heard from them? Although, having said that, I believe they made a comment last night. But where's Tilly? He's as visible as Joe Biden. Where is Tilly? Where is he? Why isn't he speaking? Why isn't he saying what I'm saying is rubbish?
All right. Well, John Locko, thank you very much for coming on the line, and we think this is a bombshell. That's extraordinary that that man might have been maligned unnecessarily, but if that's what you say and you can verify or you vouch for that, we appreciate you coming on the line, John.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Sam. All the very best to you and Don. Thanks.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
So are we off? Is he off?
He's off.
So there we are, Don.
Well, I hope it's followed through.
Well,
there's more to this. I mean, you don't have to be Einstein to read through this. I mean, the whole thing in this world that we live in is how these people in positions of responsibility, how they act and how they cover up and basically lie.
So from day one, when this started, the first thing I or anyone else who's looking at this logically would say, why would that man get on a plane and come here if he wasn't given clearance? He can't just decide he'll come and play if he's unvaccinated and hope he'll just get to the border and say, wow, I'm not He must have been given clearance by authority. And as John said then, John Locko, he said the government, one of them, the federal government, thought it was a vote winner for him to come. The state government thought it was a vote winner for him not to come. And because, there's not one set of rules for some, not one set of rules for some. How naive is that statement? There is one set of rules.
Well, I'd like to know who the other players are that are actually still here playing.
Anyhow, Don, that was him. We're going to ring off and we're going to finish this and then we're going to speak to the doctor from Sydney. I wonder if he knows anything about this. Maybe we could enlighten him on this. He might lead his program with this tomorrow. So that's any final things that you wanted to say that before we get on to...
I've got a ton of things to say, but we'll come back. We'll come back.
Will we?
Yes. We've gone long enough.
Have we? All right. Well, I'm just working out what I do now. What do I press here, Ivan? I press... Oh, this Daddy Cool here.
Play some music.
Oh, no, sorry. No, here we go.